Today, I'm going to review the Bourne Identity from 1988. So if you're unaware, the Bourne Identity and the Jason Bourne character comes from a book that came out 35 years ago. It's a Cold War era spy novel, and it was made into a 3-hour TV movie in the year 1988. And so it makes for a kind of an interesting little piece of history because over the last 15 years, Jason Bourne and the Bourne franchise has become like this highly influential, very popular spy film franchise. And then in the year 1988, you've got this alternate world version of it. So I don't even know where to begin with this. The movie starts off fairly familiar. Jason Bourne running off of a boat and being chased by someone shooting at him, and then he falls into the water having been shot in the back a couple of times, and then he floats onto shore and he's picked up and rescued. From there, the person that rescues him is actually Brody from Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. And plot-wise, it's fairly similar. He's being treated for his medical wounds, and the guy discovers something inserted into his hip, and it feels the same similar type of dialogue between Jason Bourne and this person helping him. The big difference really is just immediately you feel the tone and pacing difference. So plot-wise, not a lot different happens right here, but tone-wise, he's laying in bed, and there's like children looking at the window like spying on him, which is weird and creepy. And then within a few minutes, he goes for a jog with the kids on the beach. I mean, it's just bizarre because it's Jason Bourne and it's like the same movie, but different. In the pacing of it, it just goes much slower. And so as you're watching the movie, eventually he gets sent off on his adventure to discover his identity and track down the information that was placed in his hip. And he goes to hotels, he goes to banks. It's very reminiscent of the Matt Damon film. Plot points are very similar along the way, and this feels much more at this point just kind of like a mystery. And it plays up the mystery rather than the action. Right around the time that I had that thought, there's about 30 minutes straight of action chases, car chases, a guy tries to rape a woman, and Jason Bourne comes to the rescue. So as soon as I thought it's a mystery, it turns into an action movie. And throughout all of this, you can see the parallel scenes, parallel elements. It's different. Everything plays out different. It feels a little different, but the plot points, you can see everything that's reminiscent all the way up to this point. And this takes us to about an hour and 15 minutes into it. Marie appears in the plot. She shows up differently, but her function in it plays out about the same, and he has to rescue her. And eventually there's a point where everything changes. And the moment for where it started to change was there's a love scene in this. And if you remember in the Damon film, there's a scene where Jason and Marie kiss, and then it implies things, and they wake up the next day. In this made-for-TV movie from the 80s, so it's broadcast television. This is not HBO. This is not Game of Thrones type of stuff where it goes crazy. This is broadcast television. They can't really show anything. And so there's like a 3-minute love scene where it's like them in slow motion moving towards one another and her slowly unbuttoning his shirt. And it's so incredibly uncomfortable. It's like suddenly we go straight from watching this spy movie with action and gunfights to a soap opera. And it goes on and on and on, and you're just watching going, what is this? Who thought this was a good idea? Who does this appeal to? So that's kind of the turning point. And at that point in time, suddenly the plot changes entirely from what you've seen in the Damon film. And as they're answering the questions, the answers are different. Like, what's the Bourne Identity? What does that mean? How does it work out? That's all different. So the second half of this is all about Jason Bourne being concerned that he's the assassin Carlos. He's the Carlos the Jackal that's killing all these people, and he keeps having flashback memories of things that are happening, and then he sees a news story about a murder that's very reminiscent of this thing that he saw. So he's afraid that he's Carlos the Jackal, and he's trying to track down the identity of Carlos the Jackal. Is it him? Is it someone else? Do I need to stop this guy, or is this guy out to get me, or what's going on? And that's where the plot ends up going with this, which gets really weird, because as I was researching making this video, I realized that Carlos the Jackal is a real person that killed a lot of actual people. And so the fact that they have like a plot point about him is kind of unsettling and weird. But a totally different plot for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then the climax of it takes place in a stairwell again, just like the Matt Damon one. And the ingredients are a little bit different, but it feels very much like the scene in the Bourne Identity with Damon. So why do I say all this? Why do I even review all this? It was interesting to me. I'm just interested by history, alternative versions of it, different interpretations, something that's so critical now that people know the Jason Bourne, they don't think 1988 film. And people even are aware of the books, and there's a new guy continuing to write Jason Bourne books, but we don't think about this movie. So I say that I can't give this a normal 1 out of 10 review because that would be useless. It wouldn't really help you at all. And so really, if I'm going to tell you, if you want to know if you should see this or not, you can skip this unless you're a huge Jason Bourne fan that's interested by things like this. If you love backstories and how things came to be and the evolution of stories and different versions, if you love that stuff, you'll find this interesting to just see how same character based off the same book, two very different movies. And even when they're similar, they're very different. And so it's very interesting in that regard. Otherwise, if you watch this, it kind of boring, but not super boring. It's just engaging enough to keep you watching. Just enough action, and it's got quite a bit. It has a lot more action than I thought it was going to have. It's entertaining enough, but as you're watching it, you know that you're watching a made-for-TV action thriller mystery. You know that as you're watching it. And it's 3 hours long, and they've only got about 2 hours of plot, so it's padded. So like that scene I showed you earlier with Jason Bourne running on the beach. Why is that in the movie? Well, it's in the movie because they had to fill a certain amount of time, and so you put stuff in there. And not all of it's good. So thank you for watching. Tell me, have any of you actually seen this? Comment in the comment section. Tell me what you thought about it. Are you interested in seeing this at all if you haven't seen it? If you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe if you like hearing me talk about stuff. Thanks for watching.